It's time to down tools for a bit. Welcome to the ToolShed, the influential podcast for anyone and everyone involved in the building industry. Here's your host, Mick Hawes.
Hey there, before we kick off, I want to share a really important thought. 71% of you who watch this channel frequently don't subscribe. So if you've enjoyed any video you've ever watched, can you do me a favor and hit the subscribe button? It helps the channel more than you think, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests get. So let's go. Hey folks, welcome to another episode of the ToolShed podcast. On this episode, speaking to Stacey Combe. She's only got one O in Combe. Normally you have two, so someone's knocked one of her O's off. We'll be talking to her about where that's gone. But we'll be covering a whole bunch of stuff that I really, really love because it's about mindset, about mindfulness, and moreover, self-leadership. How can you expect to lead others if you can't lead yourself? So we'll be covering those sorts of topics. So before we dive into that, I want to remind you about the scorecard. I want you to take the scorecard because the people go into business. Builders generally start off as carpenters and they go into their own business because they want more financial freedom. They want more time freedom. They want more choice as to who they work with and when they work, all that sort of stuff. And if I was Dr. Phil, I'd say, how's that working out for you? Because for the most part, it doesn't work out that way. And so what we've identified is that there are a few things or a few boxes you need to tick to make you ready. And today's podcast is going to help you a lot because it's all about from the neck up to make you ready to be free. Like it's not a matter of being good at building and being good at all of these things and even having systems and processes. They're important, but they don't work if you're not ready from the neck up. And so I want you to take the scorecard. The link is in the description. It's the Build of Freedom Readiness Scorecard. You'll get some suggestions. You'll get a score in your inbox a few minutes after you've taken the scorecard, and you'll get some really great suggestions on what you need to work on to get yourself ready for both financial and time freedom. Stacey, welcome. We spoke about someone had taken one of your O's. You don't seem all of that concerned about it. And you said it was probably French. So I was going to do a French introduction and I didn't because that would have been really bad. How are you and where are you? Where do we find you?
You find me location-wise?
Yeah.
I'm in Queensland. I'm on the Sunshine Coast.
Ah, what's the weather like up there?
It's pretty magical. It's cold.
You have to say that.
It's cold because everybody else is like, how do you think it's cold when we're in 2-3 degrees? But it gets cold here.
I'd love to show you out the window here, just south of Hobart here in Tasmania. It's bracing. It's you know you're alive if you step outside anyway. So excited to have this conversation, excited to learn about where you've come from. So you work with people and businesses in the construction industry, but the space that you work in is high performance, but around mindfulness and self-leadership. And I'd love to hear the story about how the hell you ended up there, because I love hearing people's stories. My story started selling life insurance. That's where I started to learn all this sort of stuff and ended up where I am 35 years down the track. Where did your story start? Why did you get involved in helping people with their mind and their self-leadership?
It's a big question, but for context, I spent just under a decade in the construction industry myself. So I started out as a land development assistant. I went in wanting to be in the design sector of residential homes. But like anything, you need to start somewhere. So you just take any role because you want to learn and you want to adapt and learn all about the industry. So I did that. And as I sort of moved through, I got my positions within the selections, pre-construction and design part and sector of the business. And I ended up moving up to, that was in Brisbane. And I moved up to the Sunshine Coast from there because at that point there wasn't a lot of houses being built up here. So there wasn't a lot of work and I needed to sort of have a stepping stone to get up here. So when things started to take shape up on the coast, I ended up getting a position as the pre-construction interior designer up here for a project builder. And it was the best experience ever. It was where I wanted to be. Yeah. And I loved it. I loved the people. I loved the industry. I loved my role, my job. I always say to people, I could walk in with a blindfold and just do my job. Like it was just the best. But over time, I guess I built this role. The role was what it is, but when you're in a position like that and you start understanding plans and estimating and you're doing all of these things and supporting all of those people around you, and then you've got that big role yourself, like I was doing display homes as well, you create like a beast, basically. So the role that I was in, I created this really big structure around me, and it started to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and a lot more pressure, a lot more clients, and a lot more responsibility. And at that point, I didn't really have the tools. I was sort of dabbling into sort of health and looking at, well-being and that type of thing, but I didn't really have any tools to support me in my day-to-day work life. It was just go, go, go. I didn't know anything better. You just go to work and you come home and you work your bum off basically all day without stopping. And I guess that's what I was shown too growing up, and that's what it just was. There was not even a question. Even in previous roles prior to construction, it was similar. We just worked as hard as we could. And what started to happen is I was building, the business is building, a normal sort of 100+ homes a year or whatever we were doing. But we were getting lots more clients come in, and I wasn't able to sort of start to manage the influx of people that were sort of coming to me. And I started to see myself doubting my work for the first time ever, starting to see mistakes happen, starting to see, I guess, I just didn't really feel like going to work anymore. I was like, I'm not feeling it. I don't feel as confident. I'm a bit nervous when the phone rings. Is it going to be another mistake or a problem? Like all of those sort of icky kind of things were starting to happen. I'm like, something's not quite right. And that kept going. And that is kind of where the story ended for me in the construction industry. I had to take a step back. I don't really like the word reset, but for lack of a better word, I just needed to take a step back and look at where I wanted to go and just have that rest away for a second to see what direction I wanted my life to go in, and just take a moment and do something that was a little bit more less of a role, you could say, that I had, so I could take that break and have a bit of a clearer understanding of where my life was going from there.
Why don't you like the word reset?
I do like I don't mind it, but it gets thrown around a lot. It just gets thrown around a lot. So yeah, it's because resetting, you kind of reset and start again, which is really resilience. But it was getting to a point where I was kind of like, I couldn't sort of bring myself back. So I just needed to take that career rest. I didn't stop working, of course. I've got a young family. I can't just sort of hang out and do nothing. But yeah, I decided to take a step back. And towards the end of my role in the construction industry, and then through starting a new position, I started learning and studying the practice of mindfulness. And and that's 3 years ago now. And just as of last year, with timelines, just as of last year, I decided to step into this as a business. And it was quite broad when I started talking about mindfulness for the workplace. And the whole reason I started studying, was because of my experience in the industry. So I can't, it's almost like it has to be for this industry. You know, this is the reason why I'm doing it. And it just feels so heart-led to be able to help other people, because I've gone through those experiences and experienced what it's like to lose a little bit of confidence and have a bit of self-doubt and understand what happens within the industry, and to be able to support those people and jump back into the building industry, but from a different angle, is like just lit me up. So yeah, I'm super excited.
Good term, light you up. We need to invest more of our day in activities that light us up. It's very similar. I hear this story quite a bit on the podcast. Obviously, we talk to people on the podcast who have a deep desire to assist and help people in the building industry most of the time, because they came from that space. But when you said you started off a couple of years ago, mindfulness in the construction and building industry, my immediate response was, how hard was that? Because I've been in it for 100 years, and you start using words like mindfulness, like high performance is a different kettle of fish. Mindfulness starts to be a little bit airy-fairy, and I understand it, and it's so important and so valuable. Did you run into any resistance, or is it just me being old school, imagine that there was resistance and there isn't anymore, just with that sort of approach to people in the building industry?
Well, just for to go back, I studied back in 2022, so I haven't actually gone into the industry. The building industry started for me within my business just this year.
Yeah, nice.
So I haven't had to, I guess, deal with any resistance at this stage. But I understand what you're saying with the term mindfulness and then the term high performance and leadership and all of that. The resistance is when, from my experience, when we are working in an industry like the building and construction, it is nonstop. We can't really stop from a physical point of view and go and have too many cup of teas through the day, right? But when I talk about slowing down and mindfulness from that perspective, it's more about slowing down from in here. So before we react or before we do something, having the ability to pause. So that's what I mean by slowing down and using mindfulness as those little informal practices throughout the day. So I try and speak to it that way. So I'm not using the word as mindfulness meditation, more as a strategy or a tool to support people, whether they're on site or in the office, from all spectrums there, to use those experiences to help them when they're under pressure, because ultimately that is the umbrella that I'm supporting, because the pressure covers so many things.
Yeah. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the podcast. We're always trying to bring you information that's going to make your life as a builder much easier. So give us a thumbs up and make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode. And particularly in the building industry. I mean, we work predominantly in the residential building industry, and the guy or the husband and wife that runs a custom home building business, they've got to be so much more than a builder. Like they've got to be a project manager, they've got to be a psychologist, a babysitter, a therapist. It's just the pressure is immense, and I love that the talking about the that moment where something happens and you can react to it or you can respond to it. It was really interesting in a conversation we had with our black belt members just a week or two ago. Somebody brought to the table something they'd read from a Mel Robbins book or video or what have you about the biochemistry of the emotion, whether it be fear or anxiety or frustration or anger or whatever it might be, from the point of the stimulus occurring. It's about 6 seconds before the biochemistry starts to kick in the body. But if you sat with it and didn't keep pressing the bloody hell button, it takes about 90 seconds for that biochemistry to dissipate and you're kind of back to normal if you can learn to sit with it. I mean, what an incredible tool to be able to teach people that are having stimulus and problems thrown at them just, all day, every day, to be able to not get into that knee-jerk reaction when something happens, because that'll probably cause another 10 unnecessary problems as well, just to sit with it so you can appropriately respond. You've also in your promotion material in LinkedIn, I noticed the term self-leadership. I love it. I want you to explain to me and everyone listening, what is self-leadership and why is self-leadership so important? Because many leaders, owners of their own business, not necessarily leaders, want to learn about leadership because they think the problem is with the team and they need to be led. They need leadership. But maybe self-leadership needs to come first. What's your thoughts?
Yes, it is a big one, and I always like to preface it. It's so important that none of us are alone either. So self-leadership doesn't have to be a lonely experience too. So it doesn't mean that everything within the mindfulness techniques and tools and things that I teach people means that they only have themselves to manage. They can always ask other people around them, talk to friends, talk to colleagues. But when it comes to self-leadership and mindfulness, I think having those tools in the tool belt to lean on whenever you notice, and noticing is the number one start to anything. So when you notice something, your self-leadership kicks in straight away because you've noticed an emotion. You've noticed you're about to react. You've noticed how you're feeling. You've noticed all of these things around you. And when you have that ability, the awareness around it, which is developed from a formal and informal practice, you can then make changes to that particular moment, whether it's in communication. You can lead that way, which is such an underrated skill and a super important skill to have within your self-leadership toolkit, to be able to sit and speak to somebody and wait for your turn to speak and actually listen to the person so they feel seen, heard, and understood is so, so powerful. To have the ability to check in with your body before you walk into a meeting that you know perhaps might be a little bit tense, or before you go out to site knowing that there's a problem out there that you need to face. How are you feeling? Can you readjust yourself before you go in there? What can you tell yourself? Can you take some breaths or use some of the techniques? Can you ground yourself if you're in a spiral of emails and you can't quite catch what you need to do? Can you jump up? Give yourself permission to walk away for a couple of seconds, regroup, and come back. So to me, self-leadership is just leaning on those tools and techniques and having a beautiful practice that is yours, and that throughout the whole day, you feel like you've got that little bit of extra support in your mindfulness toolkit that can support you throughout any experience that you're going through without any judgment. So it doesn't matter if there's going to be times where things go wrong all day. There will be something, we can't avoid it, but it's how we approach those things. It's how we handle it And it's how we react to those things. And by having these practices and tools, we can lead from a grounded and present place, because ultimately that's what mindfulness is. It's about being as present as we can in each moment.
Yeah, I love that. It's something that we've been talking about a lot this year in Black Belt, is just how we often spoil this present moment by thinking about the past moment or the problem that we think is going to happen in the next moment. And because we bugger up this present moment, we'll probably have a less enjoyable future moment as well. So being present is really important. You mentioned, speaking to somebody. I've just really always found, particularly in the building industry, it's so challenging to get people to speak to someone. So a couple of things that I've found that in a community conversation, we tend to make a lot more progress. So, for instance, in Black Belt, we have 3 what we call momentum calls a week, where everyone is involved, and they put their issues and challenges and their problems on the table, and we can all have a look at it. And what I've noticed is that when people are new to that, they'll kind of sit back and just listen. The people who've been involved quite a lot or for a long time are quite comfortable going, this has happened, or I stuffed that up, or I'm bloody hopeless at this, or this is, giving me the shits, or I hate this, or, they're happy to talk about it. But it's kind of, it's not a common practice. It's not usual. And I find it difficult to get people to open up one-on-one. It seems to be easier in a group environment. But what do you suggest, and what can you suggest for the listener who perhaps doesn't belong to a community, to get them to get to a point where they can talk to people about, what's going on with them, and maybe ask for some help, get some support by someone like yourself? It's a real tough ask, particularly in the building industry. What do you think's in the way? How can we get past it?
So with mindful communication, I think not a lot of problems, but maybe most problems, some problems come from miscommunication.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't actually realize that we're not listening. And because we could be talking like you and I are now, but for example, you might be thinking about dinner, or you might be thinking about, oh my gosh, that email, it's still sitting there, I haven't replied to that person. So there's no real engagement there. So what happens is that other person doesn't feel seen, heard, or understood. So they feel detached from it. When you're in that one-on-one situation, I understand what you're saying in groups, because you can kind of lean on the other people and kind of go off the back of what someone's saying and feel a little bit supported when you're around like a group environment. But when it's one-on-one, like for example, if you were talking to a client or someone directly on the phone, I always try to lean into your breath and focus completely on that person as they're speaking, and don't wait for your turn to speak. Actually listen to the person and wait until they're finished. Because a lot of the times we're waiting for our turn to speak. We're not actually listening to what they're saying, because we want to get our point across, which is all well and fine, but we're not getting the full story. So that is a really powerful practice that I do like to try and take people through, because communication to me is like the number one tool that we have to deepen relationships and to stop mistakes, not stop them, but prevent them perhaps from happening, or getting to a point of, what did they say to me again? Like, I know there's been times in my career in construction too, I've walked out of a meeting because I'm thinking about the million other jobs I've got going on, get back to my desk, look at my plan that I had to change. I'm like,
What did they say?
In that light again. Shit, what was I doing? So yeah, it's natural human behavior, and I think the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful part about mindfulness is there is no judgment around it, and it is a practice. So it doesn't matter whether we've been practicing for 5 minutes, 10 years, 100 years. It's an everyday thing. And we're never going to get it right, and we're never going to be perfect at it. And I think removing that, grip that perfection and things have over us is really beneficial, because to be able to communicate better and speak to people better, and even if we walk away from it and think, I could have done that better, but we've got that awareness, so we can try again next time. So it's just repetition and practice and a reminder every single day. It's basically attention training daily. That's what I like to call it. Yeah.
It sounds to me like it's like where I've been influenced over the years is like habit 5 out of 7 habits of highly effective people. First seek to understand, then to be understood. But we're so driven to get our point across because we're right. And even if our heart says, I want to help you, I know what your problem is. If you just shut up and listen to me, I've got the solution. It's such a flawed approach because people, there's another old book, Australian author Hugh Mackay from many, many years ago, Why People Don't Listen was the title of the book. And people tend to listen to those who listen to them was the subtext of the book. And it's like we want to be listened to, but we're not prepared to listen. And the other thing you mentioned was communication being probably the single most valuable tool of a leader, any business owner of a building business, what have you. They might think that their financial IQ or their ability to manage projects or what have you would be the number one skill, and I completely disagree. I think quality communication is absolutely the number one skill any leader should have. I'd be interested in your thoughts on this, that we all know that, AI is it's just expanding at some incredible pace. In fact, just watching a video of Gary Vaynerchuk this morning at some ungodly hour when I got up, and he was talking about, so back in the 2000s, an app had a lifespan of perhaps, a number of, at least it was measured in years. And now there is some AI application that you're using now that in an hour's time will be superseded with something better. It doesn't mean that one is now irrelevant. It just means there is something better. There is a slightly better platform on offer in an hour from now. And the rate of change and the rate of improvement and the impact that's going to have on people's jobs and what have you is going to be profound. And I think that we're probably going to go further and further away from one-on-one communication. And the conversation that we're having in our group at the moment is, let's use all of the AI tools to be able to get shit done, get the stuff that needs to be done to create space for more one-on-one conversations, potentially in person. Let's go to their house and wear their couch out and drink their coffee and all of that sort of stuff in a really calm way when there's no pressure on us, because we're getting all of the bots and what have you to do all of the stuff that used to take hours and hours a day. Now we've got hours free to do the communication thing. It's kind of super exciting and super scary all at once. I don't know. Question without notice. What do you think about all of that? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts on this. So, look, I'm with you. I'm 50-50 on it. I'm super excited for it. But the rapid change, the way how quick it's moving is undeniably fast. I mean, I have 2 little children too, and they're twins, 8-year-old twins, and sometimes what they are doing on their iPads and how they were showing me different things, I'm like, oh my goodness, what is happening? Like I thought I was good at this tech stuff, maybe not so much as them, but they're growing up in a world that we are learning to change as adults now, like having to experience these changes in life. But you're looking at children. I was thinking the other day, my gosh, they don't know any better. They're going to grow up in this world that's like super fast and so reactive that will be their new, well, not even a new normal. That's all they know.
So how
really
important then is mindfulness and self-leadership in that world?
Oh, it's everything. It's everything. Because we are so distracted, and it's not even our phones, or it is really, it's our phones and everything, books, whatever it is, but it's also walking outside. There's traffic and noise, and there's so much happening that we're just so outside of everything, and we're pulled from different places. Our jobs, again, so we're going from 8 to 5 just as a standard rule of being distracted all day long by not being present on the one task. We're being pulled from pillar to post. And then we might wake up on our phones and check our phones first thing when we jump out of bed. And we might finish our day like that too. So we're constantly consumed or distracted by things all day that we actually have never experienced the present moment for the entire day. And it's not any judgment on anything. We just we don't know how. We've never really experienced how to do it. And that's what the beauty of mindfulness is, I think, especially in this industry. That was the gap and the lack that I saw upon reflection in my own experience in that role, of that lack of having that present moment experience as much as I possibly could. So yeah, I think it's definitely very, very important moving forward into our future.
Do you think we need to prioritize at least some time blocks during our day, or at least our week, to get back to thinking and engaging in person-to-person, interpersonal experiences? Because it's like, I don't know, you were saying it's our phone, and my brain went instantly, well, it won't be soon. It'll be these things. You won't need a phone anymore. You just put these on your face and, answer the phone, or you just and you can see everything through the heads-up display on your glasses. I mean, that's almost here. And so the phone will be obsolete at some stage in the not-too-distant future as well. And, where we're heading is, you've seen it in the sci-fi movies where the body's just in that tube being kept alive. Their experience is all virtual. How important is it to, in this day and age, put time aside and learn skills for mindfulness, for self-leadership, for better communication, all that sort of stuff? Because, back in the old day, and what just flashed into my brain then was a black and white photo of people watching AFL football, and there were all these very skinny people in the 50s or whatever watching the football. And there was none of this. And so we grew up learning organically about communication, and, you could look at people's facial expressions and hear the tone in their voice and all of that sort of stuff. Where you can't hear that in text and emails and all of that sort of stuff. So it's kind of like we have to learn it. And you also mentioned that, your children are growing up in a completely different world. And again, in that same video I was watching, Gary was asking the people around him, he was using an example of how jobs might change and what have you. And he said, he talked about the sales representative or the sales manager on a sales team for the yellow pages, and the camera panned around the room and people went, what? Yeah. And he said, how many people know what the yellow pages was? And no one knew. It's like, no. Don't know. Like, it's just not even in their conscious awareness. So, It is a different world. As people are growing up now, there isn't the organic way of them experiencing human-to-human contact, so they're going to be really bad at it. But I feel that it's going to be really important to learn how to do that, because it's going to be the thing. It's going to be kind of like the feature of somebody's business. You actually speak to a person face to face. And there was a throwaway line in this thing where he said, like, don't be surprised that at some stage in the future, people will pay $5,000 to go for a walk with a human. Right? So,
Wow.
yeah, but that's kind of where it's heading. How important is it to block out time to do the stuff that you're an expert in, that you help people with self-leadership and mindfulness and communication?
It's very important. I think too, it becomes infectious. So if there is somebody that learns mindfulness, for example, in a business, just one person,
Yeah.
the other people around them will start to notice, and they'll be like, hey, what's that? And then it becomes like something shared, and people start to see the developing connection between the people then. I think within my business, if you're up on the Sunshine Coast or in Brisbane, I like to do in-person meetings at the start, because I don't want to be on the screen all the time. I mean, like we said at the start, Mick, it's really fantastic that we can do something like this together, and we're on different parts of the country and we can have this beautiful conversation. But there's also a power to having an in-person connection as well. So that is something that that's really important to me too. And you see it everywhere, and how, quick we are with our phones and our emails and things. Like, they go off and we are so, what's the word? Accessible. We're so accessible to things. We can speak to somebody in an instant via a text, via an Instagram message or a LinkedIn message, but it's never really that deep connection that we're really, really wanting. So I think mindfulness really helps deepen those relationships, because when we start focusing on better communication skills, we're feeling more present. We are living more in that moment-to-moment awareness state. We are naturally going to be more connected to people, because we're not wanting to get past them. We're not wanting the conversation to end quickly than it needs to. We're not rushing to the shops. We're driving to the shops in the same amount of time it would take us to get to the shop, or in a rush, or get there in time, or just in a natural state. So I think it's really important just to have that ability to slow down, as I said, from within, so we can be more connected to ourselves. When we're connected to ourselves, we're more connected to other people. Yeah. And when we are more self-led, we can, of course, inspire and lead other people the same way we lead ourselves. And I think that comes down to integrity as well. So having that beautiful practice behind you and living it, embodying it, and then sharing it with other people will just naturally deepen connections for sure.
Yeah. That slowing down and connecting to yourself, and that really resonates with me. Something that we're doing a lot now is, in my mind, like, there's a lot of promotion out there in the building and construction industry about, here's how to be more profitable, here's how to be more systemized, and all of that. And all of that stuff's really, really cool, except it doesn't get implemented to the level that it needs to, because there's so much chaos going on in here and out there. And so one of the things that we're doing now is helping people to understand what the first step is and how to implement that first step, which is what you're teaching them, I believe. I'm just guessing, but I'm pretty confident that what we've got to do first is calm the chaos. Just that's the first step. Like, you're not figuring anything out. You're just calming down and being able to breathe. And I know that in our face-to-face sessions that we have. You know, big burly builders. There's a few ladies in the group as well, but it's male dominated. And there's just a running joke through our face-to-face. You know, with the box of tissues, like somebody is going to cry at some stage in the next 2 days. And it happens with monotonous regularity because they're in a calm environment and they make some realizations. They understand something about themselves, or they understand that they allow themselves to think about what's really important to them and why they're working so hard and all of that sort of stuff. And they have breakthrough. They look like breakdowns, but they're actually breakthrough moments. And it really is a time of understanding their mind and understanding themselves, and it's so important. And when COVID happened, like we used to do these face-to-face very, very regularly. Then COVID happened and we had to learn how to do it on Zoom. And we still use Zoom and all of that sort of stuff. But you just don't get into that depth of feeling and understanding and connection on a Zoom, meeting that you do when you can feel the energy in the room and people supporting people and helping them feel safe to say what they need to say or unpack what they need to unpack. And so, you know, what you're doing, super, super important. I really encourage people to invest time and money and effort into getting into this space, you know, because it's not all about what we think it's all about.
No.
And I don't want people to find that out when it's too late. How do people find out about you? Where do they come to contact you to have a conversation to find out whether you're the right fit for them, all that sort of stuff? How does that happen?
Thanks, Mick. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn mainly. You can find me on Instagram as well, but LinkedIn is where I spend most of my time. I share a lot of value on there and have a free masterclass. Anyone in the industry is free to join every month. It's live and it's just an introduction into how I work, the work that I do, and I give people some tools and techniques and a few cool things to take away that they can use within their career pretty much straight away. And yeah, just LinkedIn at the moment, which is nice and simple.
Yeah, keep it simple. We will make sure all of those links are in the description in this podcast, so people can reach out and have a conversation with you. Just wanted to thank you for sharing, putting the time aside for being on the podcast, and doing this in the construction industry. It's something that I'm incredibly passionate about. Of course, we want people to be successful and more profitable and all of that sort of stuff. But I've just had too many experiences where people have been able to get, you know, significant financial reward and the nice house and the nice car and all of that sort of stuff, and have been absolutely distraught because, you know, as Stephen Covey said, you know, people are climbing their ladder of success, you know, and getting somewhere near the top only to find out they've lent their ladder against the wrong wall. And and it just happens so often. And having someone in their corner like yourself to unpack this, to understand about self-leadership, mindfulness, and have the opportunity to bloody enjoy the journey instead of having this stupid win-lose attitude every day. Because when you've got a win-lose attitude for the day, there's going to be a hell of a lot of lose, you know. The best teams and the best athletes in the world have something like perhaps a 70% win ratio, which means that they lose every third game or every third match, and they're the best. And if you're not the best, yours is going to be a hell of a lot worse for that. So, you know, we really encourage people to set themselves up for their reward each day being fulfillment rather than win or lose, you know. And I'm sure you can help people identify that and have skills and abilities to be able to enjoy every day, enjoy their present moments. It doesn't mean everything works out the way you want it to.
No, absolutely. And just jumping on the back of what you just said, it's really that what you've just said is what we would call a non-striving approach.
Yeah.
So when we are striving for something and we're like, we've got to get there, and I'm all for that. I am somebody that performs at a higher level as much as I can from my experiences. But the striving to get to a destination without any mistakes along the way or any hiccups along the way or any excuses along the way, it's not sustainable.
No.
So we have a non-striving approach where, yes, we have goals, we have aspirations, we do want to build these beautiful homes. The ultimate goal is to hand over a beautiful home or development or something along those lines to our clients. That is it. But it's the journey through it, how we approach it, how we manage it, will get that result because of the journey, because of how we move through it. And knowing that these mistakes will be there, but looking at them from an acceptance lens and going, this is what's happened. This is what's happened. What can we do next time that's better? How can we approach it that's better? But letting go of the pressure that those expectations have on us when we know that the ultimate goal is to get the best result possible anyway. Yeah.
Having the understanding that this is happening for me, not to me, it's just that little switch in the mind that, shit's going to happen every day, and it can happen for you, it can happen to you, and depending on your approach or your interpretation of it, your responses will be different and your results will be different. So it's fantastic stuff. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's been wonderful. Love talking about this stuff. Can talk about it underwater with a mouthful of rocks for 7 hours. It's fantastic stuff. Appreciate what you're doing in the industry. So thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Mick. And
Absolute
just quickly, your 7 Habits book, where's my camera? Yeah.
There.
I can't, you're reflecting on it. I'm like, I'm staring at that right now. I haven't even read it.
No,
so
and you didn't show me that before either.
That must be my sign, hey?
Yeah. I've always said that book right there, and I stand by it today. If they passed a law that you are only allowed to have one book ever in your life, and this is going to offend a lot of religious people, it's not the Bible, it would be that book, The 7 Habits, because it's just got everything from soup to nuts in it, It covers the lot. It's so deep. I remember being in a book club with one of my very early mentors back in the 90s, the early 90s. And we would read a book every week. We'd all read the same book, and we'd get together at 5:30 in the morning and have breakfast and discuss the contents of this book. And after about 4 weeks, it was my turn to suggest a book, and I suggested that book. And we never even got into the habits. We only got into the front bit of the book after 18 months. It was just, it's so deep and meaningful and has such power, and it's just incredible.
Okay, that's my sign.
Read the book. It's a great book.
I'll read the book.
Excellent. Thanks a lot. So,
Pleasure.
folks, that's it for this episode of the ToolShed. I hope this got you thinking. I say that bloody every time, but I really mean it this time. We need to invest time and effort and money into ourselves. You are the goose that lays the golden egg. Don't kill it. So you've got to look after yourself. And this is a journey. It's not about a destination. So everything we can do to enjoy right now, and it's a skill to learn how to enjoy right now. I would invest time and effort and money into learning that skill. And there's people like Stacey out there that can be in your corner and help you with that. So make the call, reach out, have a conversation, see what comes of it. Before we go, another reminder of doing the Builder Freedom Readiness Scorecard. As I said, there's a whole lot of stuff out there on socials at the moment, and there's a lot of stuff being pushed about. Here's the system, here's the steps, all of that sort of stuff. And I've been around for 35 years doing this, and the system and the steps are the tool. And if you haven't got the right understanding, if you don't know how the internal combustion engine works, all of the tools to tune up an internal combustion engine will not help you. So you need to have the right mindset. You need to calm the chaos. That's the very first step. And so what you need to do is take your Builder Freedom Readiness Scorecard, the link's in the description, get your score plus get a whole bunch of suggestions in the email shortly after to identify what you might need to work on so you can be ready to be able to get those other tools, the systems, the processes, the steps, put them in place. But you've got to get this right first. Hope that makes sense. We'll be back with another episode of the ToolShed podcast. Before you know it, my name is Mick Hawes from Builders Business Black Belt. That is all. I'm out. Bye for now.
You've been listening to the ToolShed. If this podcast struck a chord with you, make sure you spread the word by sharing it with your mates in the building industry. We love your help to make the building industry better for everyone involved.